About over 100 questions about Costilla County. Specifically Costilla County, but in general, Colorado, New Mexico. So Costilla County, I've compiled over 100 questions. So if you're like, man, I want to listen to somebody just read themselves a bunch of questions and then answer those questions which they just read themselves, this is for you. But first, make it somewhat entertaining. Garcia, some cool information, some cool facts. It's run by Democrats, but that's not going to be on the test. But Costilla County, Costilla County is south central Colorado. It's one of the poorest states. It's right next to Conejos, also one of the poorest states, and they're ran by Republicans, so neither one of the parties really know what to do with poverty. Costilla County, there's a lot of fantastic facts that I want to share with you, and then I'm just going to read you over 100 questions. Garcia. Now, I've said that San Luis is the oldest established city in, U.S. or some shit, or Colorado, 1851. That's when San Luis, which is, the name of the San Luis Valley, that's where it gets its name from. San Luis, established in 1851, but Garcia was established in 1849. So that means Garcia is actually older than San Luis. Garcia's only population 10. It's, not exactly the biggest goddamn, fucking metropolis out there. But it's older. It's established, and there's still people that live there. It used to be called the Plaza de la Manzanares. The Manzanares were Spanish people that had established it first, and then some Garcia people came and got a post office, and then boom, now you got a Garcia. No post office there. I don't think there's a post office at Garcia. There's one in Hirosa, but not Garcia. So apparently Garcia lost its postal, and then okay, so Garcia was established before San Luis was established. Denver, Colorado Springs, and Pueblo City all were established before the state of Colorado, which probably is typical. But the state of Colorado was established in 1876. It's when the Constitution, it's when the first governor was elected, it's when it became state, it's when it got adopted to become an American state. So they got everything done in 1876. Got the Constitution, got the referendum, got it signed up, U.S. Grant signed it up, the Congress, they fucking, 1876, 100 years after the fucking, July 4th, 1776. Why is it called the Centennial State? Because it was formed in 1876. So it's very much a Union American state. I'm very proud of Colorado's origins. So, Denver, Colorado Springs, and Pueblo City were cities before the state of Colorado, which is important because of the home rule, the power of the home rule for that the cities and towns have, like over 100 cities in Colorado have the power of home rule, which means they trump the federal government and they trump the Denver government, the state and the federal. So here in Colorado, the people that had the power, it's not fed, state, local. If you're in a home rule city, town, or village, then it's town, state, feds. Which is how it should be anyway. So the population of Costilla County is 3,500. That's very, you could learn everybody, right? You could learn everybody. 3,500, that's Vargas, you have 100,000. Pueblo is, the city of Pueblo has got a population of 100,000. So 3,500, that's what, Bessemer. Vargas. Don Diego de Vargas. This is the first European into Costilla County. The first European into Costilla County is Don Diego de Vargas. Is this the first person in the Colorado? No! Because you had Archuleta. You had that Don Juan de whatever Archuleta. And so the Don Juan de Archuleta, he had come like 1664. Some of these questions I put in there because I want to learn them. So the second question, name one other Acoma Pueblo, which is not the capital. I have 3 total. I don't, Acoma Minita, I know it's Sky City. The capital city of the Acoma Pueblo is the Sky City, but there's, 4 Pueblos right there. And 4 Pueblos, what are the other 3? I don't know. I don't know, but because I'm writing it down, because I'm doing, this, now I get to say Comita, Anzac, and McCarty's. So by saying it out loud, you got to say it 20 times. Anzac, 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 McCarty's, Anzac, Comita. So that's Okoma, Okomita. I guess that's Little Okoma, Anzac, not Prozac, but Anzac, McCarty's. Okay, so there you go. McCarty's, it's like, okay. So we all got to learn what are some of the Okomo Pueblos. Well, there's Okomita, Anzac, McCarty's, and Sky City. There's no running water, no electricity in Sky City. So that's just, those are the first two questions of your quiz. That's on the test. Those two things, a lot of this is on the test. And I don't want to say that whether you're Costilla County, because that's presumptuous. But I don't know if anybody ever put the archaeological and the historical stuff together and said, okay, this is what it looks like to me. This is what it looks like, what's going on to me. You had the Folsom people, they got here about 10,000 years ago. And then they started, building pueblos, and there's a farming revolution right here. And then there's a revolution, 1680, Pope's revolution. They kicked the fucking Spanish out of goddamn New Mexico. The Taos Pueblo, all the Pueblos, 26 Pueblos or so, the Tiwas and the Taiwas and the Towas and the Tanos and the Kiris, even the Hopi. The Zunis, of course, the Zunis, but even the fucking Hopi. Hopi means, like lawful and well-behaved and polite and courteous. The Hopi way it's almost like Buddhism. The Hopis are like Buddhist. But the Hopi were a part of, Pope's rebellion, the, so-called the revolt, Pueblo revolt, but it was a revolution because it kicked the Spanish out of New Mexico for 12 fucking years. This was Pope's land. Who ran New Mexico for 12 fucking years? Pope, Taos, Caris, Tiwa, Towa. They kicked them out for 12. That's not a revolt or rebellion. That's not a failed. That's a successful revolution. Now, you might say in the historical timeline, 10 years later, he's going to reconquer it or what have you. And it's kind of crazy, the hypocrisy. You got, motherfuckers killing, people left and right, fucking Don Diego de Vargas. But the goddamn king, the fucking bewitched, was it Charles II, James II, somebody the second, the bewitched, the last of the fucking Habsburgs, the secession, the war of Spanish secession is going to happen because of this motherfucker. He cared about the Native Americans. He cared about Christianizing them. He was like, okay, yeah, they kicked us out. That looks really bad, right? They could just, hell, what if they kick us out of the whole damn continent? What if the fucking English, take over? With the French and the Dutch and the, Swedish, all these other, imperialists. And then the Spanish, they took Florida and then they're up in the Gulf of Mexico, but then they go to Mexico City and then they go as far north as Santa Fe. It's almost like in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the desert. Why are you taking... But I think it's just the Spanish Empire just trying to... I actually think that New Mexico was more of a buffer. It really wasn't like... But it was like, oh, we got to Christianize those poor Native Americans, which are just being, pillaged and just atrocity after atrocity, just despicable. So, fucking Vargas, fucking that motherfucking piece of shit. The only good thing about me reading the thing about Vargas is that I get to see how life was like. Not only do you have the Plains natives, but you got the Pueblos. So you actually have a farming revolution, right? That was the whole thing about the Middle East and Western civilization was you had nomads and then they all of a sudden became farmers or what have you. Well, the Pueblos did that. They were farming, they had squash and corn and they were actually, their agricultural techniques surpassed that of the, Spanish and the Europeans. So the corn, they never seen corn before. They never seen potatoes or tomatoes. They never seen any of this shit before. Chocolate, vanilla. Chocolate. How did he get chocolate? Vargas was going to give Don Juan de... What the hell happened to Don Juan de Ye? Don Juan de Ye he said he was waiting for him to come back and he was going to, have chocolate with him. Well, they just got chocolate. They just got vanilla because they just came and, there's some other shit too. Fucking wild rice, potatoes, corn, tomatoes. Those are some pretty big staples right there. So what's my point? My point is that the Don Diego de Vargas, he's a piece of shit, but that's also where the official written historical record starts. So you want to talk to me about goddamn motherfucking Tartaria? You want to talk to me about motherfucking Tartaria? You're just dumb and ignorant white supremacist stupid piece of shit. You're just fucking making up shit, you fucking white supremacist stupid Tartaria. It's like, oh, fuck. It makes no sense. It's so stupid. If you're going to start anywhere, you'd start with the official narrative. You know, Don Diego de Vargas is a white motherfucker, so, you know, it makes no sense just to make shit up. Just making shit up. And so, you know, Don Diego de Vargas, fucking white conquistador, coming around, going to civilize them, give them Christianity, but he's just killing, pilfering, fucking robbing, raping, destroying, just a terrible human being. And it's a good thing they got rid of that goddamn fucking statue, and they should stop doing those entradas. Jesus Christ. This America, New Mexico has the benefits of, you know, basically being Native American and goddamn American. So you have, you know, all the Guatemalans or whatever trying to, they're already, New Mexico, they're already here. And so I would think they would get the blessings of both. They're natives. They've been here for, you know, 10,000 here in Costilla County. They've been here for 10,000 years. Brown people have. The brown natives. I'm not sure the continuity of the whole thing, but there is, you know, the conquistador. There is mestizos or what have you, so there's mixed. And, yeah, so just because they come in and speak in Spanish and they got living in pueblos and houses, and I think that's 1851 was the New Mexican colonists came up, and then it used to be Taos. Costilla County used to be Taos County, New Mexico. So Costilla County used to be Taos County, New Mexico, so it was a part of it in the 1850s, and then Colorado became a state, and then it became its own county. But in order to understand Costilla County, you got to understand Colorado and New Mexico. In fact, you might just learn New Mexico first, because it's kind of a New Mexican county in Colorado. And so that's also, in a way, like New Mexico, right? Costilla County is just like fucking New Mexico, but they have legal marijuana, so they're a step above, right? So they're doing a little bit better than their southern neighbors. So Costilla County, lots of, it's beautiful. The universe, you got all the stars, the plains. This is the, you know, home on the range where the deer and the antelope play. Literally, the deer and the antelope play. Apparently, there's like panthers and bears. I've never seen. There's some rattlesnakes, so watch out, you know, for them. So the People's Ditch, I think it was 1852, right after San Luis was established. There's the People's Ditch, which was just like a, you know, a dirt fucking ditch, but it helped to irrigate like 12 different farmers, and they still use it today. And there's something about first people's rights or some shit. And so, you know, we got that going. There's 3 reservoirs. Santa Fe, 1607. Santa Fe was established in 1607 by a guy named Peralta. 1607 is 414 years ago. So 414 years ago, Santa Fe was established. Santa Fe apparently has, you know, a lot of poverty, but there's a lot of wealthy people in Santa Fe. Santa Fe's doing, you know, there's a lot of good, you know, basically it's all America, right? There's the rich and the well-to-do, and they're, you know, getting richer, and they're doing fucking fantastic. And then there's the rest of us. But Santa Fe got established in 1607, which makes it the second oldest city in America. The second oldest city in America that was established in, you know, the continental U.S. of A. St. Augustine in the 1500s. I want to say 1565. Not 100% on that, but in the 1500s, St. Augustine, Florida. So the Spanish, you know, it was Christopher Columbus. It was all Spanish, right? Christopher Columbus was fucking Spanish, 1492. Then you got 1607, 1500, St. Augustine, Florida, Gulf of Mexico, Soto, Pizarro, Cortez, them conquistador motherfuckers. They wiped out goddamn empires. They're like, hey, you're an empire? Well, let's go ahead and just get rid of you. Let's take your shit. We're going to just extort and just take everything. What a sick motherfucker, right? And then Cortez, he was actually kind of shitty to his own men, so Cortez got rid of the Aztecs, right? Fucking shit. And then Pizarro got rid of the Inca, Manchu Picchu. You want to talk to me about motherfucking Tartaria? Why? You don't want to acknowledge that there was a massive genocide of, what, about 10 to 100 million Native Americans? How do you rectify 10 to 100 million Native Americans? Can it be rectified? Just forget about it. Let's just not talk about it. Talk about reparations. What are we going to, you know, we need to give reparations for the black man, but what about reparations for the red man? What about reparations for the red man? All right, question and answer time. Question and answer time. I think. All right, we already did the first two. We'll do them again. What's the capital city of the Ocomo Pueblo? Sky City. Name one other Ocomo Pueblo, which is not the capital. Ocomita. And then there's two others. There's three total. 3 is true or false. I guess I could just... Anzac McCarty's number 3. True or false? Before Costilla County was a county in Colorado, she was a different county in a different state. True. Taos County, New Mexico. What year did the Ludlow Massacre happen? What was the month? And what was the day? So you can actually just add a point. You know, there's like 139 questions, but there's like 3 questions here. So if you could get the year and the month and the date, that's a 3-pointer right there. And, you know, there's 2 ways that you could do this. I would, you know, you could learn the whole thing. I learned so much by doing this. Even if none of you motherfuckers listen to any of this shit, I learned so much. So, 139, the idea was, go through it. It's a 100-point questionnaire, and you need to get 90, you know, points or above. So you got to get 90 points at least. Out of 139, that's not even, but it's A, quality work, which is what I expect. It's what the old man expects. That's what I expect out of you, what? 1914. 1914, April 20th, 1914. And it was up against the Colorado Fuel and Iron Company. The Fuel and Iron Company. What kind of fuel? Coal. These were coal miners. And who owned Colorado Fuel and Iron Company? That was John D. Rockefeller Jr. J.D. Rockefeller Jr. Old J.D. Rockefeller Jr. So, April 20th, 1914, Colorado Fuel and Iron Company, CF&I, coal miners, John D. Rockefeller Jr. Now we're on 8. The answer is 2012. The question, what year did Colorado legalize marijuana? 2012. By Hickenlooper. Was it by legislature or referendum? Referendum. On December 10th, 2012, the governor of Colorado issued an executive order legalizing possession and cultivation of marijuana. Who was that governor? Hickenlooper. When was Colorado's current constitution written? 1876. What is Colorado's nickname? The Centennial State. How did Colorado earn that nickname? They became a state 100 years after the, you know, Declaration of Independence, the 1776 year. Colorado became a state on August 1st, 1876. Which U.S. president signed Colorado into statehood? That would be Ulysses S. Grant. When was Denver established? I don't know, but it was before 1876. When was Colorado Springs? When was Pueblo, Colorado? Okay, so let's go ahead and learn. Let's learn together. When was Denver established? November 22nd, 1858, before the Civil War. Pueblo and Colorado Springs were formed after the Civil War. Pueblo in 1870, Colorado Springs 1871. 17 and 18, both are true. True, true. True or false? Colorado Territory was formed February 28th, 1861. So the territory was formed right at the beginning of the Civil War. So they're like, oh shit, Civil fucking War, we need Colorado. Form the Colorado Territory. Just go ahead and draw that, you know, territory up. That's true. In 1865, Colorado, there was a Sand Creek Vindication political party. True. Which day of the 1680 Pueblo Revolution did the Piqueras Pueblo finally join in Santa Fe? The second day, August 11th, 1680. True or false? The Piqueras celebrated Don Diego de Vargas' return in 1672. They sure did. 21, true or false? The Piqueras, the poor Piqueras, the Piqueras Puebloans, spoke Tiwa with the I, T-I-W-A. The Piqueras spoke Tiwa. I know that the Taos spoke Northern Tiwa, T-I-W-A. Did the Piqueras Puebloans? Probably, right? True, 21. 21 is true. A lot of trues right in a row there. I mean, probably should get some variants, huh? True or false? In 1990 at Piqueras Pueblo, the population was 270. Well, let's see here. I know all the populations of every small town in America, so yeah, 270, 1990, yes. The point of that is that the Piqueros Pueblo people are still here. The Piqueros Puebloans, we still have Piqueros Puebloans. We still have Piqueros Puebloans because, God, they ran off and then they came back and it was, but there's 270. They're still hanging on. The Piqueros Pueblo people, the Piqueros Puebloan people, they're still here. True. Who was New Mexico's first governor? Oh, well, that was just Tom, New Mexico. So it was William C. McDonald. That's the first governor, took office January 6, 1912. Number 24, Holy Faith, Blood of Christ, the Savior. What kind of questions? What does Santa Fe mean? Sangre de Cristo. And El Salvador. That's the country. Sangre de Cristo is the mountains over here. What does Santa Fe mean? Holy Faith, Sangre de Cristo, the blood of Christ, El Salvador, the Savior. When was Santa Fe established and by who? This is 1607 by a man named Peralta. Pedro de Peralta. To be more specific, Pedro de Peralta. What was established before Santa Fe? It was St. Augustine, because Santa Fe is the second oldest city, and it was established 1565. 27, Michelle Lujan Grisham. This would be the governor of New Mexico right now. And it says it's the first elected female Democratic governor of the state, took office January 1st, 2019. So, first elected female Democratic governor. Was there a elected female Republican governor? Because that's like, it seemed like it was, the first female. No, not really. Okay, so Michelle Lujan Grisham. That's who the governor of New Mexico is right now, today. Who is New Mexico's Attorney General, 2021? Who is New Mexico's Attorney General? Well, that's just good old Hector Hugo Balderas. Good old Hector Hugo Balderas, Jr., an American lawyer, former prosecutor, who's been the Attorney General of New Mexico since 2015. Let's see, 29. Name one member of the Colorado delegation in D.C. Name one member of the Colorado delegation in D.C. Well, that's Bennett. You got Bennett. You got Boebert. You got Lamborn. All you got to do is mention, what, one of the senators or one of the congressmen. There's 7 congressmen, 2 senators. For 2021, all of them, you have Hickenlooper, right? Bennett, Diana DeGette, Joe Neguse, Lauren Boebert, Ken Buck, Doug Lamborn, Jason Crow, and Ed Perlmutter. Number 30, that's Chief Robert Thornton. Chief Robert Thornton. I'm not even going to tell you the question for that one. All right, who is New Mexico State Police Chief? In 1865, over 95% of the child slaves in Costilla County were from what Native American tribe? The Navajo. What other tribe did Costilla Countyans enslave in 1865? This would be brown colonists, New Mexican Spanish-speaking colonists who are enslaving the Utes and the Apaches and the Navajo. Mostly the Navajo, but there was one Ute, there was one Apache, and 8 Utes and 2 unknowns. So the right answer for that would be Apache or Ute. Apache or Ute. 33, Santa Fe. What is Spain's first permanent settlement in the western part of America? Again, Santa Fe, Santa Fe, Santa Fe. Okay, enough with the Santa Fe, right? But that's, I think in U.S., right? In U.S. America. 34, Haku. H-A-A-K-U. H-A-A-K-U. It looks like haiku, but with an A-A instead of an A-I. Haku. This is Akomi Kiris. It means what? What does Haku mean? Well, clearly Haku means a place prepared. A prepared place. So there you go. Haku. Is your place prepared? Have you got a haku? Have you got all haku'd up? You got your place all haku'd? Number 35, what is Akoma's ancestral language? I just told you. Kiris. K-E-R-E-S. Akoma Kiris. What is Akoma's ancestral language? Kiris. What does Piqueros mean? Gateway. So they want to say gateway to the south. The Piqueros already got that. The Piqueros Pueblo. That means gateway. Who is Colorado's current Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold? What is a kiva? A kiva is just a underground circular hole. It's especially ceremonial, religious, but it could also just be residential. So kiva is just an underground circular hole for social, ceremonial, or residential. Let's see, what did I write for that? Social, religious, ceremonial, political, and residential purposes. A circular underground room for Pueblo natives. The circular underground room, if you say, you know, religious, that's the big thing, is people think of kivas as being religious. But it's just, you know, they're fucking Pueblos. They're Pueblos, they're, you know, using mud and dirt and what have you. So instead of making big-ass fucking walls and shit that the wind can knock down, why not just have a big-ass living room underground? You got a nice big-ass underground living room. That's a kiva. That's what a big-ass underground living room. 39. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. What happened to Don Juan de Ye, governor of the Pecos Pueblo? This is such a weird fucking story. Did Chief Pacheco, governor of the Taos Pueblo? These are actually rhetorical questions, I think. But the first one, what happened to Don Juan de Ye? Nobody knows. But you could say he got killed or that he got, you know. But, let's see, did de Ye abscond? He could have ran away with the Apache. He could have got killed by Chief Pacheco. Apparently he got tied up, but then also he went back to his Pueblo. And then also, it doesn't make sense that it seems like Don Juan de Ye is like basically sacrificing himself for no fucking reason. But as he's about to go to Governor Pacheco, as he's about to go over to the Taos Pueblo, he was the governor of the, you know, whatever, the chief of the Pecos governor because they elected him governor. That's what Don Diego de Vargas did to all these Pueblos. But he's the chief. The chief of the Pecos Pueblo is going to go to Pacheco, the chief of the Taos Pueblo, so apparently to spend the night to talk about the Spanish demands, because they want to take all the fucking corn from, you know, Taos Pueblo, either by purchase or by bullet. And then, but it just seems like it was stern the way they were yelling at each other. It was sternly worded, so they were like yelling at each other, and then it didn't work. So Don Juan de Ye tried to yell at Pacheco. Pacheco was like, get the fuck out of here. That motherfucker's just coming here to rob us. And Don Juan's like, man, he's saying he'll pay for the shit. He'll pay for it later. Whatever. Man, we worked all year. Fuck that shit. You fuck with our shit, then we'll fuck with you. And July 3rd, 1694 is the last we're going to hear of Don Juan de Ye. We're not going to hear of Don Juan. And then Pecos Pueblo, I hear that bad things happen to Pecos Pueblo. I want to say Taos or Santa Fe is actually sitting on top of a Tanos village. But you got the Plains Indians, the Utes, and then you got the Pueblos, right? You got the Utes and the Comanches and the Apaches. And I think the Navajos were Plains too. And then you got the Taos and the Pecos and the, you know, Kiris and the Tanos. And so there was a farming revolution, an agricultural revolution that happened right here in, you know, Costilla County, New Mexico, Colorado, whatever you want to call Costilla County. Costilla County. Costilla County, true or false, Mount Blanca is just under 14,000 feet. It is actually over 14,000 feet. It's one of the 14ers. So people like to climb, hikers, mountaineers like to conquer these 14ers. So Mount Blanca is to the north, and then Ute Mountain is to the south. It's actually in New Mexico, but you got to go to Colorado in order to get to it. And Blanca, though, the Mount Blanca is just north of Blanca, and Mount Blanca is in Costilla County. It says the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, Sangre de Cristo Mountains, Mount Blanca. The sand dunes, there's some sand dunes. You want to see some desert sand? We got a shit ton of desert sand for you. Was 1694 Don Diego de Vargas the first European in Colorado? No. He was the first European in Costilla County. He's the first person in the written record that I know of so far. That could change. But 1694 Vargas, he was not the first European in Colorado. First in Costilla County, the first European. I don't know who the first European in Colorado is, but I know that Juan de Archuleta entered Colorado before Vargas. So that's how I know that Vargas was not the first European. So 41 is no. And then what year did Archuleta enter eastern Colorado as far as Kiowa County? 1664. 1664. So he got here 30 years after that.